in federal court in Washington this afternoon.
Yeah, he is due to surrender for processing and then arraignment on the latest federal charges against him. 3 criminal conspiracies aimed at overturning his election loss to Joe Biden.
So what do the latest charges mean for Donald Trump and the presidential election? For that, we are joined once again by political analyst Basil Smikle. He's also a consultant and the director of the public policy program at Hunter College, also a former executive director of the New York State Democratic Party. So Basil, good to see you.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
So let's begin, I guess, with the politics of it all, right? When you look at this is the third time, right, that Donald Trump has been indicted this year alone. We're in the middle of a campaign season. But each time you look at the poll numbers and they don't seem to move except going up. It helps him politically each time. What do you think is going to happen this go around?
Well, I expect more of the same. If you remember just a week or so ago, he announced that he had gotten this target letter to his supporters. And while it'll be interesting to see how the polling looks, assuming that there will be some polling after this arraignment, the assumption is that he's still going to be highly popular with his supporters, which portends a strong.
We just had some trouble with Basil's shot right there. We'll try to get him back for you and get that connection restored. But this is a big day, right? Third time that we're going to be seeing a former president charged. And this time it really carries some hefty weight along with it. We do have Basil back with us right now. And we were just chatting about the length of time that this could be, right? If these charges go through, these are some lengthy sentences if he were to be convicted.
Yeah, they're pretty lengthy, and we expect him to plead not guilty to these particular charges. But a lot of this is performative. It's political theater for him, and it's more opportunity for him to use it as a platform for his GOP primary. But again, it makes him less and less electable in a general election. And, there are a lot of people that just want to move on, and the Republican Party wants to move on from him, but it's become really hard to do.
I mean, Donald Trump could say he had every right to lie. I mean, he could use the First Amendment defense, right? Saying that he had a right to speak even if his claims weren't exactly true. So can this have an impact on his political standing, do you think?
I mean, he can make that argument, and we expect him to make several of those types of arguments. He'll raise money off of it, and I think again his supporters will say, they were acting in the right. But remember, over 1,000 people who were involved in January 6th have been arrested, indicted. Hundreds have been convicted. Hundreds will serve prison time. So this is more about accountability for what took place on that day and the events leading up to that day. There are Democrats that will say, and actually more than just Democrats, independents as well, many Americans will say we still need to hold the president accountable. He and his supporters will say they were acting in the best interest of the nation. So it's more than a he said, she said, quite frankly, in this case. But for the political theater that comes from this, it is always a platform for Donald Trump to perform, if you will, in front of his supporters.
I mean, political theater is a good way to put it. But, you brought up a good point, and the Republican Party seems to want to move away from him. But do they? I mean, if you look at the totality of the campaign season, there's only one candidate that's really going after the former president, and that's Chris Christie. The other candidates really haven't spoken out against the indictment, against the charges. So what do you make of that? Did we lose him again? All right. Having some trouble this morning with Basil. But yeah, we're going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. He's expected to plead not guilty in court this afternoon in Washington, D.C. And then while the timing of this kind of plays out, it's all interesting because this is one of 3 different trials that could take place during a campaign season.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting how this all falls out after his indictment later today.
All right, we're moving on. Sorry, Basil.
All right. Hopefully we'll get him back later on.
Oh, wait. We just got him back. Look at this. Live television, everybody, at its finest. Basil, let's ask you a quick question here because we were talking about the totality of the Republican Party, right? And when you look at this campaign, I don't know if you heard the question, whether or not others are going to fall in line like Chris Christie did in going after him. What do you say to that?
I just say that there are a ton of other candidates against Donald Trump in this primary, which suggests that there is some appetite for somebody else. The question is there any one person that can stand up against him?
Why haven't they
With you,
rallied?
with 10 other candidates in the race, or more than that, it becomes really difficult for someone to make a decision. It basically breaks up his opposition, which gives him more of an opportunity.
But why not rally around that candidate now?
Well, the problem is that you have a lot of. I have been saying that what needs to happen is that some of those major donors, those big donors, essentially need to make another candidate. Right now, a lot of those donors and a lot of those political leaders on the ground are afraid of him and are afraid to move away from him because of what that might do to their own standing, their own brand, and the parties that they run in individual states. So there's still a kind of a fear of the impact of going against Donald Trump. So, and he knows that. And so that's why it's become really difficult for folks to mount a really successful campaign to this day against him to sort of knock him down. That's why the hope is that these indictments do that for them.
But what if he goes on trial? You don't think that will even detract from his popularity at all?
Among his core supporters, no. This is really a game now about the independent voters and disaffected Republicans within that party. The likelihood that he'll win his primary is still pretty high, even with somebody like a Chris Christie consistently going after him. We still have time, but the probability is still pretty high. So what Democrats have to hope for is that in what is expected to be a very close general election, that yes, the specter of a trial and watching him go through this every day just makes him less and less palatable in the view of a voter.
Well, we shall see, because there's a lot that could happen during the next year of this campaign cycle with 3 different trials. Basil, good to see you as always. I know we had some technical issues, but we got through it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, 7:40 right now.